So, first of all, hi again. My name is Vidas. I'm a product manager of Eilean Board, and today I'm glad to present you our most valuable feature and context of software functionality, which is related to a TFS, Team Foundation Server integration. I hope most of you are already familiar with Team Foundation Server, and what I will be showing is a little bit for advanced users. Maybe you're a project manager, maybe you're a developer, a product owner, or a person, a business stakeholder who knows a little bit about software development and would like to see how Eileen can benefit to your day-to-day basis by integrating to your Team Foundation server. So today's plan and agenda is to have a introduction into Eileen and showcase what's the value by integrating to TFS. And of course, during the whole session, you can find the questions panel in the GoToWebinar software, where I would be more than glad to get questions from you. In the end of the session, I will spare 10 or 15 minutes to answering the questions you wrote down through the entire session. But right now, let's just get started. And I hope you're seeing my screen well. It's fitting. And of course, if there's something wrong, please just let me know by raising exclamation marks in the chat or just trying to write something in questions. Okay, so what we're seeing in here is already Eilean Board open on my machine. So in a few sentences, Eilean Board is a team task management software which is focused a lot about user experience and simplicity of use. I hope most of you already know a few competitors of ours and maybe tried different Agile or Kanban software, and you know the pain points. So in Eileen, we're kind of focusing on pain point removal because it's very important for us to show how it can be done differently and that a software is your best friend in daily tasks instead of some sort of a not value-adding yet more work required tool. So you will see a lot of new but yet somewhere seen maybe familiar practices coming from Agile, from Kanban, from Scrum, but this is most of our interpretations, and we try to apply it in the least time-consuming manner. So you use software every day, every hour, you check your tasks, you work with your team, and this is where we want to cut your time and save it. So let's start by simply doing a use case where, let's say I'm a project manager and I have my developers team working in a Team Foundation server where they keep their code as a source safe, and then I want to see their tasks that are related to that code, or maybe even manage our application lifecycle by creating work items on TFS. But if I want to share it with someone who's not that into development, it could be hard. It could be hard to understand. It could be hard for the person to get used to TFS, either web access or having Visual Studio installed on its machine. So here you go. This is Eileen. I simply choose my template, whichever I want to follow. Currently, we offer out-of-the-box templates starting from TFS 2010 to the newest one, which is 2015. I will be showcasing the Scrum template because I think that's the hottest topic right now. And I simply will pick some of the TFS projects during the demo. I have one of them that matches my template of Scrum. Now, you might think of a question instantly. I have different template in TFS, so Eileen cannot integrate with it? No, Eileen can have any template applied to a TFS because our templates are the same XML configuration as in TFS. So it's just a matter of matching. And it even brings you another power of editing the template as you like, so it can be different, a little bit different in Eileen than in TFS, and add you some additional functionality. But let's go step by step. Let's connect to the TFS project. I will name this webinar demo my workspace, and I will create a workspace. In terms of Eileen, a workspace is, you can look at it as an Excel file with multiple sheets in it. So a workspace can contain boards, and this is the board where I see the states or steps our work items needs to travel from the input when they were created as new items until they are done in the output or removed. Now, as I mentioned, in Eileen you can have more than one board, but as we're right now demoing the TFS integration, we will be focusing on a single board integrated into the TFS workspace, or TFS project, if it would be more righteous to call. Now, let's click and choose View Sprints to view in the board. A sprint is the same corresponding entity in a TFS. So it contains work items, and it represents the scope of effort or scope in time. So in Scrum template, here we have my work items alongside bugs and tasks. You might notice the different coloring. So it means a different item type. The yellow ones are just work items, and this is the main item you will be creating probably. I hope that's not a bug. And then red ones, you might guess, those are bugs, and the green ones are tasks. And if you look closer at this specific section, these bigger titles in white means a section in Eileen. A section is just a group of states. Now, some sections are special. They can have a user story or epic or a parent task parked in the first column, and then all other ones are reserved for child items. So, for instance, as in here, these three cards, green cards, are childs to this particular item. So I have my view of hierarchy at the same time for two different levels. Actually, it's three if we count sprints. So sprints are just rows in Eileen, and they're just slicing the data how it looks in the board. And this scope we're seeing right now is fully controlled by clicking scope. Sorry, I misclicked changelog. We will need to wait a second to gather the changelog. But after that, I will get back to the scope functionality, and we'll show you how easy it is to manage your view, so you always focus on what's the most important thing right now. For instance, I was working on sprint 1, but now I'm done with it, so I can easily just hide it away from my view, and it will be just collapsed. Whenever I need it, I can get it back on my view. Also, Eileen synchronizes everything with TFS. So TFS is a data repository for Eileen. Eileen respects TFS as an absolute truth information source. But of course, it also transfers items to its own database, and this is sort of a Eileen functionality added on top of TFS information. Now, if we look at these items, they got imported into Eylean Board. They yet still exist in TFS. I will be using my TFS web access to show you these items. So if we look here, it's item number 231, the very same I just clicked in here. Now I will demo how the actual integration works. Let's say my developers working on the project changed the title of the item because it wasn't accurate enough. So let's just say title from TFS. Now what I need to do is just simply save it, and in Eileen I have now two options. I can manually synchronize and get the latest information from TFS, or I can configure to automatically synchronize each few seconds and then I will be getting information like in polling mode. It's a good choice for people who are working in more intense environments, but what we see in our client use cases, more or less the most common one is related to manual syncing, because when they start using Eileen, they start moving away from TFS, and TFS becomes just a fallback database of storing the work items. So let's see how this manual synchronization works. I'll just sync my board. It will go to TFS, query the changes, and will say, all right, this is my new title. And Eileen, as I've said, totally respects everything that's coming from TFS. Now, when I do the same in Eileen, it will happen instantly, and you don't need to do anything extra. So that's a big value, where you get simple approach, simple actions that gets translated into TFS. So let's say title from Eileen. That's it. The title is changed in TFS. Just to check if that is true, we'll refresh our page, and soon, in a few seconds, when TFS loads, we will see the changed title. See, that was easy, right? And whenever I want to change something or create new items, that can be done from Eileen. I just double-click where I want to add new card, I choose my item type, and let's say that's my new item. And it's already in TFS. I can just directly click on this URL and it will drop me on web access yet again. And it works the same for all other necessary fields in TFS. Now, if we quickly jump back to the TFS web access, we can see that this item status is a new. So I want to, let's say, change the state of the item to something that is being approved right now. I'll say save. Now I'll get back to Eileen, and let's see if the synchronization can consume the change and apply it to the board. Works just fine. Now I can do the same thing by just dragging item in the board. So these columns, as you can see, are matching the states. They are one-to-one mappings. Now if I go back here, I refresh it, it should be in a different state already. Yeah, that's committed. But that's pretty simple, and that's pretty much the same TFS, just in different colors, themings, and better UX. Now, the real value, as I've said, lies when you want to add people who are not that familiar with TFS. And in Eileen, it's just that simple how you use it. It's just like a whiteboard with sticky notes, and it has all the power. Now, it's not only titles on this card you're seeing, it has way more fields. And anything in here can be mapped. It's a description, it's a due date, if you're using those ones. Then you can estimate, put estimates in story points, in hours, you can have team member assignments, and so on. I just assign a task card to myself this way. But there's also shortcuts in Eileen which are very nice to use, like this. I just grabbed it. And that's how easy it is to do something in Eileen. And the fun part is it's already in TFS. Now let's see how Eileen can elevate your process by adding something that's not available in TFS. For instance, imagine you were working on a product or a project which was based on a Scrum. You were developing your software, and now you're done. Now you are in a position where you need to start moving to Kanban, because there will be support-based, pull-based approaches for items that will appear on your board. Let's say I want to add different states that are not present in TFS. For instance, I want to have a design phase before going into committed, or specification, whatever we name it. I just add a new column in here. That's how you add columns and sections. The gray ones are columns, the blue ones are sections. Then I will open the Power Engine of Eileen. This is the XML configuration mapping. It has all the field definitions, all the state to lane mappings, and all the workflows that are corresponding to TFS. Now, let's say I will be using a new state in Eileen, but I don't want to have it in TFS. So I'll just, let's say for product backlog items, make a new state to lane mapping. Lane mapping. Now we have our state in TFS. Let's pick the same, approved. So it will be mapping to the very same state in TFS, but in Eileen I have a different one for it. So I can have as many TFS states mapped to different states in Eileen. Now I validate config just to check if it is respected by TFS. You can feel very safe about Eileen when interacting with TFS, because if something is not valid in TFS and that's not acceptable to TFS, it will reject it and Eileen will totally respect it. So that works very well, and you don't get any anomalies in your state, data state. Now let's see how that works. Now this one is in approved. Let's check. This item should be in approved state. Now in Eileen, yeah, it's approved. Now in Eileen, I say now it's design, but in TFS it's still in approved. And this is the point where you already started changing the template, yet it's still the same project in TFS. And it gets even better when your team gets fond of processes and methodologies. They can easily transform them into different templates, into different approaches, and control how your board looks, slice it whatever way you like it. You can control the hierarchy. Let's get back to the integration config. There are a lot of power in here. You can even map rows. The stories in Eileen is just a naming for the top level item, and tasks is just a naming for a lower level item. And you can have infinite hierarchy in terms of drilling down how many relations you can have. Currently, I have my parent association type mapped through association link. So whenever we go back to this board, I can, let's say, pick this item. This is a task in TFS, and it has a association link of parent-child in this product backlog item. That's how it's viewed in TFS. And, well, probably most of us might agree that it's not that visual as you can get it in Eileen. Everything is showing here at the same time. I'll just put off my Dropbox, who is actually popping too many messages. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's continue. Now, generating these items, as you've seen, is also very simple. You just add your project, get the template, decide which fields you want to see. For instance, maybe you don't want to use story points field in Eileen to show effort. That's fine. You can either just remove it or you can map it to a different numeric field. And it's total freedom in Eileen. Now, there are a few other nice bits that comes out of the box. So first of all, team assignments and scoping in terms of categories, or in TFS terms, areas. So you can always have quick access panels just by dropping items for people. When you rapidly create new item, let's say I'm in a planning phase, I want to have my item 1, I'll just quickly drop it then I have my item 2. It is going to be this, and this is very simple to do during the meetings. Some nice cases are when people use big touchscreen boards and they stand out near it and they kind of interact all at once. And Eileen is super focused on that. It's touch friendly. You can have multi-touch gestures available. You can zoom in, zoom out, and interact with these cards in a very, very interactive manner. And that is what Eileen focuses a lot, as I've said. Now, it packs a little bit of a bunch other integrations, and maybe they're quite important to mention just quickly. So, for instance, I can have other sources of work items like MS Project, if you're still using it, maybe you're keeping your items in Excel, and I think Eileen can be way more visual than Excel, so you can just simply try importing. It is a few requirements for structure, just for Eileen to understand what kind of stuff you're importing, but those are very easy. And Outlook. If you're using Outlook client, you can just drag and drop emails into the board. That's super fun, believe me. Now, I will move to the other very important part related to time tracking. And this is where Eileen beats TFS, I think, with added functionality. Of course, you can have fields like hours spent or effort remaining, which is being decreased when somebody does a little bit of work. In Eileen, you have a lot of options according to this scenario. Now, one of proper ways is to just drop Eileen cards on this time tracker we have on the right, and it will start the most accurate time counter. And then whenever you stop it, it will log the information and say, all right, somebody worked on this task for 10 seconds right now. Well, I will be able to view that information in here on the card. If it was me who tracked the information, I will be able to view it on my daily log. And best part, I will be able to view it in the reports. If you're not a fan of active tracking, Eileen offers you a few more options. You can track these plus 1 hour. I like them very well because normally an hour size of a task or effort is the one that works best for people, and well, you can just click it and add a few more hours tracked. Also, if you have estimations present, Eileen respects the total time tracked, and it can have these nice progress bars whenever you're going above or below the actual estimation. Also, you are able to edit time manually and just add it on any specific day, any specific amount of time, and just do it through here. Finally, this whole thing is calculated and put into the Eileen reporting tables. So I can get into the reports. The first one, the simplest one, is where I see my dashboard. Then I can go to track time and pick a little bit more of what I could change, what could I see by user, by tasks, in terms of time spent on specific items. Now, if I want to show other reports like task totals, lead time, cycle time, and cumulative workflows, they are all here as well, because time tracking might not be the best interest for everybody. If you're a Kanban user, you would definitely enjoy what we have to offer as Kanban approaches. So this one is CFD, where you can measure what is your throughput on a daily basis and see how your total effort is changing through time. Also, we have a nice one called workflow, where you can see what is the moving direction of your items. So if it's in a green field, means your items are progressing to the right direction. But for instance, if I try moving something back and get back to the report, it will show me that there was either an item that didn't meet quality requirements or was returned from the production for some reason. And this is where you see how good is your process. And as I said, there are many more reports related to Lean. Of course, there are also a few ones for the Scrum. You can have burn downs. You can burn down by remaining items, by story points, or by estimation in hours. So I think that's quite plenty of options to match anybody's taste. Also, in terms of visual slicing, if we go back to the board, we can have a little bit of a peek into the view of a list. So this is for more, let's say, Excel or project lookalikes, and you can have infinite hierarchy represented in the same view, and it's also the same Eileen board, just in different approach. Then final view is called schedule. So this one requires some start and end dates on items. So it will be something very similar to Gantt chart, if you know what I'm talking about. And let's just try adding a few of these. And it aligns items on the schedule view, and then you can have your plans listed and seen in the same place. And all these views are just a superset of what you have already in TFS. So you don't need to input new data. You just download everything, and you see them and you see that data instantly in here. And all the other fancy stuff. Comments for the task items. Let's say I need more specs, so I can write those here. Maybe I want to notify something for my team and say I am blocked. Sorry for the spelling. I'm blocked, and it would mean it's visual in Eileen. You don't need to read up everything, and just a quick glance at your board means a lot to you, because you will see everything, what's going on right now, what's the status. And as I said, you can always synchronize with TFS to check if all the changes are in here, if it's the latest information. But it is also possible to work with Eileen even with the older state, because Eileen, as I've said, will go to TFS and respect it. And let's say I have the state of approved, but I shouldn't be able to move item to any of other states that are not allowed in TFS. And that's what Eileen just checking. It sees that it's not allowed to put item in here, and you won't be able to do it. Or it will pop you a blue notification saying, sorry, this change is invalid in TFS. So most of the basic features from Eileen I showcased you, and the biggest power I showed you is in here. It's in config. So you will be able later to iterate, change it, edit it, add things that aren't present on the board right now, and use all the Eileen functionalities. Some clients of ours even have two different boards connected to the same TFS workspace with two different methodologies being used. One is Scrum for developers, and then there's a Kanban for support people working on the same project. And that's perfectly fine, because they're sharing the same repository of TFS, but different workspaces or boards in Eileen. So I hope that was clear enough for you, and you will have questions for me. I will just soon check my question panel. Mainly what you can do to just kickstart Eileen, I will just finish up by saying that, just download it from our website. You don't need anything extra. You just install it as a standalone client, pick your TFS server, pick your template, and that's it. Select the project you want to connect to, and Eileen will already instantly download those items. You just need to make sure you have a matching template, or if it's a custom one, you need to adjust it a little bit. But that's it. And when you're ready to go with your team, then you of course need to install Eileen server to share the same information with other people. Also, an option where you share the same information through TFS is possible, but I would recommend doing Eileen server just for the best user experience. So thank you very much. That's pretty much it. And let's see what kind of questions you have for me.